Hello beautiful people, let's get started with today's look. I primed my face with the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, and my eyes I used Urban Decay Primer Potion in Original. For today's base I'm going to be using Juvia's Place Eye Prep Eye Prime, and this is in shade number 2. So I'm just going to put 2 small dots on my eyelids. Keep in mind that you definitely want to shake this product before you put it on because it will separate in the component, but I shook it up and then I applied it to the eyelid. A little goes a long way, so I'm just using my finger to blend it out, focusing most of the product on the lid, and then the closer I get to like the crease, I'll just use lighter hand tapping motions and just blend it out as smoothly as possible. It's okay if it's messy. We're gonna fix that later, but just making sure that I blend this out. And also I like to make sure that the product feels a little bit tacky, that way I know that it's evenly distributed over the lid and the crease where I need it to be. Then I'm grabbing my KVD translucent setting powder. I'm gonna use my brush and I'm just gonna lightly set this base. I'd say if I was going in directly with a shimmer shade, I would have left it as is, but because I want to be blending out colors on top of this as smoothly as possible, I'm going in with a translucent powder just to set it so that when I put the eyeshadow on, it goes smoothly over that base. So we're starting off with the Amrezy palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And I'm going to be picking up the shade New Yorker. So I'm going in with this shade because it's close to my complexion, so we're using this as a transition shade. I'm focusing this on just the perimeter, the outer portion of the lid, making sure that I'm blending out those rough edges from the base and just making sure that everything is as smooth as possible. Then I'm grabbing the shade Rust from BadAzzCosmetic. This is what it looks like. I'm going to be focusing this on the outer portion of the lid and in the crease, just creating a wing shape and, you know, just building up that shade on the outer portion of the lid and just creating that shape, that winged out shape. I believe you guys are going to see me in a few go in with a smaller detail brush, so there it is, and just making sure I'm really defining that shape because I want a very distinct and defined look for today. And I'm just going in with the previous brush just to blend everything out. Then I'm grabbing this other shade from BadAzzCosmetic in the shade Dim Out, and I'm going to be focusing this kind of like slightly within where we put the brown shade Rust, so just still bringing it in the crease and on the outer portion of the lid and continuing that shape, just adding depth to this look. Dipping into my Carnival XL Pro palette, I'm going to be picking up the shade Back Chat. So I'm just going in with the shimmer shade and placing it on the lid where we have open. I like to go in with my finger at first because with shimmer shades, and sometimes matte shades too, I feel like sometimes just the warmth of your finger and just your finger itself helps with grabbing the pigment, so I'm just going in with my finger, applying that. Going into the shade Yacht Life from the colored Raine Vivid Pigments palette, and I'm putting that on top of the blue shade from BadAzzCosmetic because I feel like over time it was starting to lose that blue hue. It was kind of looking a little bit too muddy, so I'm just going back in to add the pigmentation of blue with a color or an eyeshadow that I know will really bring that out. Of course, just going back in with the brush that we use for the crease shade and just making sure I'm blending out the edges of that shade we just put down. Going back to the Carnival XL Pro palette, I'm grabbing the shade Lights Out. So the blue, I feel like it needed a little bit more depth, so I'm going in with a little, like a super light hand with the black eyeshadow and just going in and defining it. It's one of those things where it's very subtle. Maybe didn't make that much of a difference, but I just needed that depth. I needed a little bit more depth. I'm just going in with a makeup remover wipe and making sure that the edge of that look is as sharp as possible. Moving on to the face, I'm going in with my color correcting stick, so I'm applying this on all the areas where I have hyperpigmentation, and then I'm going to go in with a damp beauty blender. It's damp with water, and I'm just going to blend it out. Grabbing my translucent powder again from KVD, I'm just going to set my color corrector because I don't want it to alter my foundation once I put it down. For foundation, of course the usual, going in with Juvia's Place I Am Magic in 205 or Tanzania, and I'm just applying little dots all over the face because a little goes a long way, and then after that I'll blend it out. If I need more, I'll put it where needed, but we're just starting off with the smallest amount of product first and blending it out, again using a damp beauty blender that is damp with water. For contouring, I'm going in with my Oma Beauty Double Take Duo Stick in 3, so I'm just going in and applying this to all the areas of my face where I want to contour. For highlight, we're going in, or for concealer, we're going in with Juvia's Place, and this is the I Am Magic concealer in the shade 9. If you guys watched my previous makeup tutorial, you'll know that I've started to apply less concealer. I'm still letting it dry down, but I'm using more of it to blend out to an area instead of just putting it all in one spot and then blending out the edges. I'm doing this because I want to use less product, and also because I want to decrease how much time I take blending it out, because Lord God, it takes a while, guys. Like, it takes a while to blend out that much product. So I've been using less product for concealer. I let it dry down for, I don't know, like sometimes the temperature will really play a part in how long you need your concealer to dry down. I just wait until it doesn't feel like a liquid. It kind of feels more like a dried down powder, if you will, or whatever. But yeah, I just let it dry down. I blend out my contour first, and then after that I blend out the concealer. And then also on top of that, after I blend out some areas, I'll go in and use the excess concealer on the beauty blender just to chisel out underneath the jawbone where I usually would have put concealer, but now I'm just using whatever's left on the beauty blender, as you guys are seeing me go in and do right now. To set my highlighted areas, I'm going in with the Crankcase Chalk Dust and the letter N and my KVD translucent powder. I like to mix these two, and then I just go in with a damp beauty blender and press it into the skin and all the areas where I put my concealer. To set everywhere else, I'm going in with my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Dark Deep. Then for bronzer, I'm grabbing colored Raine, and this is in the shade Naughty Spice. My lights may have been altering that a little bit, but that's as close as I can get to what it looks like in person. So I'm just using this super lightly, not going in with a heavy hand, and just accentuating my contour and around the hairline. And then I like to use like super light hand on the upper portion of my nose and the bottom portion just to accentuate that area a little bit more. Going in with my setting spray, I'm going to fan off for a little bit, and then I'm going to grab my beauty blender and press everything into the skin. Moving back to the eyes, I'm grabbing my MAC Smolder Eye Kohl, and I'll be applying this in the waterline. Grabbing my Amrezy palette again, picking up this black shade BK, and I'm just going to use that to set the waterline. Going back into my colored Raine Vivid Pigments palette, I'm picking up Yacht Life, and I'm going to be smudging this out on the lower lash line. I'm trying to keep it as close as possible because I don't want it too blown out. I want the upper portion of the eye to really stand out more. So I'm just smudging as closely as possible. Then I'm picking up New Yorker from the Amrezy palette, and I'm just going to use that to blend out the lower portion of the lid. Another thing where it's close to my complexion, so that's why I'm doing that, and also just to buff out and smooth out that area. Then I'm going into my ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. I'm picking up this pressed glitter in Prima Drama, and I'm using it very sparingly on the lid. I don't want it to be super compacted on the lid space, so I still want the blue to shine through, so I'm just putting it a little sparsely. Then I'm picking up from Melt Cosmetics in Emily, I believe that's how you say it. So I'm grabbing that shade, I'm putting it on my brush, wetting it with setting spray, and putting it in the inner corner, inner tear duct of the eye space. Going back to Sweet Talk palette, I'm using the shade Garden Date. So I wanted the inner corner to have more of a peach hue. You can see how it kind of shifts between the peach and the golden hue, just to bring the entire look together. Then I'm going to my BadAzzCosmetics pastel liners that I recently got. I'm dipping into the shade Crush first. I'm going to use a damp paper towel, and I'm just going to focus on using or creating two intersecting lines intersecting in the middle. This was my inspiration for this look, to just do little stars around the perimeter of the eye and just like accentuate the eye shape. So I'm just focusing first on making two intersecting lines, the vertical one longer than the horizontal one, and then after I make those two intersecting lines, I just make a little diamond shape on the center of that portion and just make it a star. So just to give you guys a heads up, BadAzzCosmetics is on Instagram. They are a Black owned company, and they do have a shop that they're currently running on Etsy, so if you want to check them out, just letting you guys know they exist. I got these liners for around, I think like $16-17, and I'm really happy with them because I've never used water activated liners before, pastel water activated liners, so I'm really happy with how these are, and the pricing was just chef's kiss, you know, it was a set of 7. So I'm just going in with the shade Sunny and making more stars on my eyes. Or more so on my face, not on my eyes, on my face. Next, I'm picking up the shade Passion. So another thing I was trying to do while working on this or doing this look was to focus on making different size stars. If you vary the shape, not the shape, the size of the stars, and also the smaller ones, just make it intersecting lines. You don't have to kind of make it into a diamond shape. Going on with De Niro. So for digressing a little bit, so by this point I realized that a damp paper towel wasn't doing the best, going in with shade Aqua. So by this point I realized that a damp paper towel wasn't doing the best job, so just putting the water in that little tap and then grabbing the color from there helps with getting more pigmentation. And then now I'm just grabbing my concealer from Juvia's Place to clean up the edges of the stars. But as I was saying before, varying the shape of the stars helps a lot with just pulling this look together and just having more variety. And then for the eyebrows I did off camera, but I use my eyebrow pomade from the Crankcase in dark brown, and for lashes I'm using Talk to Me Nice from Super Baddie Kawaii. For blush we're using Damage Control from the Power X Color Raine Duo Blush Highlight Duo, and I'm just going in and applying my blush. And then for highlight, same from Color Raine, just going in with the highlight and applying that to all the areas of my face that I want to highlight. Moving on to lips, I'm grabbing my Melt Cosmetics lip liner in the shade Edible. Applying that to my lips, of course, my lip line. And we're going to be doing a ombre today, a little bit of ombre, so I'm going to grab my Rule Breaker liquid lipstick from the Crankcase. This is in the shade Pine, and I'm focusing this on the outer portion of my lips, so just making it go right next to where I put the lip liner from before. Then I'm grabbing my liquid lipstick from Beauty Bakery, and this is in the shade Sangria Splash. So I'm putting that in the middle, and this is another one of those looks where you're just going to want to blot your lips together just to help blend them out. And just blend those colors, girl. Blend those colors. And for setting spray, just going in. The only reason I'm covering my face is because I was afraid of the water activated liners getting activated from the setting spray, which they didn't. But after that, I just fanned off like the usual and just pressing everything into the skin. And here is the completed look. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bless up, and until next time, sending out much peace, love, and enlightenment. Bye, guys.